OpenGov is a budgeting tool now that's going to help us in the transparency software for our software, because I understand that the software that we have is ancient, for that matter. This is really going to bring all the departments and to consolidate budget priorities and proposals, and my understanding, you have several funds, and sub-funds, and 70 departments and 13 divisions that are really gonna help us out. And I think that this is really important that we use that as part of the cost proposals and comparison that we have for the city of Oxnard. And this is going to help us in the multi-year forecasting capabilities and integration and so forth. But maybe have you share maybe 25 words or less more of what this is going to do for us. I've read through the presentation, heard the presentation, read through your comments, and I think they're really great. Can you give us a little bit more information on this budgeting process?
Good afternoon, council members. In addition to everything that you just mentioned, what this tool, what it's going to do is going to help us to collaborate better with all the departments to make sure that we gather information more consistently and with more time to analyze the information rather than spend time copying and pasting information from all the different departments. So that's number one. It's going to make the process of collecting and consolidating the information more efficient, and it's going to allow to evaluate and analyze information to provide better recommendations. It's also going to help us to provide better reporting as a result of that analysis, because it's going to basically help us to share the information more frequently with departments to help them to make decisions, and with the overall with the city council as well. And eventually it will translate in more transparency for the citizens of Oxnard.
And it's going to integrate with the ERP financial, which I think is something that we started, which I think is really great. And also, as you mentioned, it's really going to help us to monitor our budgets to be more efficient, in our budgeting, and also the faster implementation of the efforts to implement, the transparency end of it, which I think, and also I think we ended up with two bids in this, ClearGov and OpenGov.
That's right.
And OpenGov was the one that was picked. So, right. Councilmember, you have any questions, sir? Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, Chair Zaragoza. Please let the record show that Member Basua joined the meeting at 5:09 p.m.
Thank you. So caught in traffic. Yeah. Thank you, God.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you again for the presentation. I'm hoping that just so we can have it for the benefit of the public, and knowing that this is going to go to the next council meeting, can you share with us a little bit about questions that may arise regarding the Tyler Munis ERP system versus OpenGov, which is in front of us now, and the difference between the two, and how this new software we have in front of us, how this is essentially the next step in this process of overhauling our software infrastructure?
Yeah, of course. The city is implementing a enterprise resource planning software or ERP that is much bigger than just the budget software. The ERP, it has multiple models. One of them is related to financials, but then we also have models for utility billing, from human capital management, time attendance, that's basically to support payroll, but also asset management and community development areas. Most of those areas are still some of them are in the earliest stages in discovery. Some of them are close to be implemented, mostly HR and time attendance. And the finance portion of the ERP was implemented last October. The ERP is, since October, is helping us to process payments to vendors, to collect from customers, also is helping us to do all the procurement processes, is helping us to do project management and asset accounting, and all that is within an improved system with respect to the system that we have before. And the improvement is coming because right now we have all the transactions that are being included in the financials are being approved through an electronic workflow that before we didn't have that. Before everything was paper-based. And also the current system is helping us to do an automatic budget check-in with regard to the budget that was adopted by City Council. So right now, the current ERP will stop a transaction if that department, division, or unit doesn't have budget for the transaction that they're trying to record. So the ERP system is working as supposed to work. Still, there's some models that we're working on, but the core financials is already working, and it's working well for the city. Through the process of implementing the financials, one of the areas that was evaluated is what the ERP functionalities to prepare a budget document and to help the city to do more long-term financial planning. And that's where the solution for the ERP fell short. And what we're doing with this proposal of a budget software is just to have an add-on to that ERP that is going to be integrated, and it's going to help us to, number one, have a budget process that is more efficient, and also help us to be able to do a longer view for all the financial condition of the city, to create a multi-year or a long-term financial plan.
All right, thank you for that. And when I reviewed this item, and I had some questions when we had talked about this previously leading up to the meeting, and I appreciate you giving me the time to kind of discuss those through. I hope that folks can understand that we've made a significant investment in the ERP system, especially looking at what we had prior to that. But I hope they also can understand that now the next step is exactly as you mentioned, looking at what the needs are of the specific departments or divisions that ERP meets to a point, but then it gets unique what each of the needs are when you get down to that granular level. And so kind of the way as I thought about it more, it reminded me a little bit of our fire or police, where we'll purchase, a capital investment in an apparatus or in, the vehicles that our public safety will use, and you can get, the standard vehicle, but then there are unique needs that police would have that we need to outfit those with to meet the needs of their mission and what they have to do their job. And we may have a truck that is the same chassis that fire and police would use, but they look very different in how they outfit it at the end of the day. And so I anticipate that for our finance, we have OpenGov here, which is in front of us to meet the needs of the next steps for implementing our new software. And I imagine Public Works may have similar options, but different needs than finance would. So I hope folks will understand as we move forward that the next steps in this process will be looking at now the granular level at each of our divisions and our departments on what software will meet their needs. So thank you again for that information.
Before I go to the Councilwoman, my understanding is this is going to go live potentially here this winter. And hopefully then we'll use it for the 24-25 budget.
If the recommendation is adopted by City Council,
once adopted by this, hopefully.
We'll work diligently to have the software implemented, and we're anticipating maybe not with the full functionality, but some of the functionality will be available for the preparation of the fiscal year 24-25 budget.
And Javier, how many cities are using it? Have we compared to other cities, and how's it working for them?
I don't know the total amount of cities that are using them, but some of them are Yorba Linda, Victorville, the neighbor Santa Barbara.
Oh, Santa Barbara.
Is using it as well. I think in the Bay Area, Oakland uses the
Quite a
system
few
as well.
cities are using it very successfully.
The reference that we received from those cities were very positive for this solution.
Yeah, Councilman Basu?
Thank you, Mayor. I know I showed up about, 8, 9 minutes late. And I did not get to hear much of the presentation. But one thing that I do know is, after looking at the staff report and talking to staff, one thing that was really important to me was the ability to integrate OpenGov with Tyler, and I was told that that was possible, so I don't see any reason not to move forward with this. So with that, I will make a motion to approve.
Excuse me, Chair Zaragoza.
Any speakers?
There's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. So we have a first by Councilman Basua,
I will second.
second by Duran. Please vote. And thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Our next item is our next item is item D2. This is the City Manager's Department. The subject's resolution updating the grant application procedures. Recommendation that the Finance Governance Committee recommend that City Council adopt a resolution updating the procedures to submit grant applications. And again, this was under Measure M, was a pre-recorded item. And Sherry Klima is here in case we have any additional information. So, and again, my understanding is that we're just updating, Sherry, from our grant procedures because we have a resolution was set up in 2001, and at that time, the funding was up to 100,000 for grants and so forth. Now we're trying to update it, so potentially if we have grants that do not have X requirements, then we can go ahead and allow the city manager and staff to then go for those grants. And 25 words or less.
That's correct, Mayor. We're upping the amount that staff can apply for in terms of the match amount, with no limitation on how large the grant itself is. We're hoping that City Council doesn't object to us bringing in a lot of money through grants, and the
Yeah.
only thing that you might have a concern about is our match.
Right.
And then we're also adding an urgency option in there so that the city manager can authorize approval, because some of these grants come really fast. We just don't want to pass up a good opportunity.
We're losing money, yeah. And also, the other item that we're gonna have potentially, if it requires an FTEs or additional information, then it'll come to the city council. And then I think the grant's up $200,000, I think.
Correct. It still needs to, if it requires FTEs, it comes to the council. It still needs to meet your goals or purposes.
Right.
There's still guidelines under which we have to operate, but we wanted to expand this a little bit because it's something like a 6-week lead time to get to city council, and we don't want to pass up good grants.
Yeah, sometimes you have to expedite those things, which is, I think is important. Councilman Basile, any questions?
No, I think this is a great item, actually. It's one that, about policy and giving the ability to our staff to get things done. So I believe this is a really, really great item.
And the ordinance is what, about 20-plus years old, which is, I think needs to be updated. Councilman Duran?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank the staff for bringing this forward as well. I do want to acknowledge we have some incredibly stellar staff who are incredible grant writers and very adept at getting the city awarded grant funds to do very specific or special projects. And I'll use one really well-documented one for Campus Park and getting $8.5 million to develop that plot of land into a park. And that's just one example. We have green alleys, we have other parks, playgrounds, inclusive playgrounds, and that's just in public works. When we look at all the other divisions that we have and the grants that go through there, including our public safety folks. There's a lot of really great hustling that's happening there, and anything we can do to support that, I just thank you for bringing this forward. And just as a quick thing from my professional life, when this item came timely, because just a couple weeks ago, a county office of education that I work with professionally in another county contacted me because they had found out from the state about a $50 million grant that they would be eligible for, and they were encouraging them to apply, but it was due 9 days from the day that they were told that the grant was available, and they just needed a little slice that they were applying for. But knowing that that was ultimately going to serve youth and families in their communities, they were happy to do it. But when I saw this, I thought, wow, if they didn't have the latitude to just, if they had to go to their board and go through all those steps, they would have missed out on that opportunity. So this just makes a lot of sense. I'm glad that we're able to update this and give a little bit more flexibility and support to our staff. So thank you.
Motion?
Did you make a motion?
Excuse me, Chair Zaragoza.
Any speakers on this item?
There's no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, so we got a motion by Basua, second by Turan, or vice versa?
It's vice versa.
Vice versa.
I'll make the motion.
First by Turan and second by Basua. Please vote.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Our next item is item number 3, Building and Licenses Department. Subject, Business Tax and Permit Administration, Discovery and Audit Services. Recommendation that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend to the City Council to approve 1, outsource the licensing services, 2, establish an agreement between the City of Oxnard and Hinderleiter, is that correct? Hinderleiter?
Hinderleiter,
Okay.
the Lamas.
And the Lamas and Associates, HDL, to provide business tax permit administration, discovery, and audit services for a period of 5 years with the option to renew for another 5 years prior to the contract expiration. And this was a pre-recorded item per Measure M. And do we have any speakers on this item before we?
Chair Zaragoza, we have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
And we do have the young lady who's going to give us additional information. And go ahead.
Well, to give a brief background about this item, the city's licensing services maintains about 17,000 accounts, which is composed of 16,000 business taxes and about 1,000 in permits, like vendor permits, taxi cab operator permits, dance permits. The licensing division is composed of 1 billing and licensing supervisor, 1 license inspector, and 5 customer service reps, and 1 extra help. The annual budget for the business license services is $944 annually. So in order for us to ensure that we are providing services at a competitive pricing, we launched an RFP for the services, and there were 2 proposers. One was HDL, and the other one is Avenue.
Avenue, okay. I wanted to pronounce it, it's Avenue. Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
So we evaluated the proposals, and all the raters rated HDL the higher scores.
And I understand that HDL really demonstrated a long history of services too. We're actually recommending HDL, correct?
Correct.
Because, and I understand that they had a long history of services to other cities with excellent results. I was really, HDL says it can save us $3,611,277 compared to 400,000. How in the world did Avenue come up with 400,000 and such a widespread, it's just.
They have a very set ways of identifying non-compliant businesses and bringing them in to become compliant. They also have the tools to audit businesses and their filings. And they also have a better customer service. We feel that they have a good customer service that they can provide.
If we approve it, the city council approves, I think it's just a really good cost saving, unbelievable. And one of the things that initially, when I read it or heard about it, is what's going to happen to the current employees. And I'm really, really happy to see that they're going to be reassigned to other departments. So we're not going to lose any employees at all.
We are not.
And we're going to retain the compliance officer and
And
part-time
want extra help.
extra help, yeah. And because I'm really concerned, because most of us have an MOU, and we have to comply with the MOU and also to be fair to the employees. But that part, it really, to me, it really makes, the savings is tremendous.
Yes.
But of course, we don't want to lose employees too, which really, really is important to me. And the benefits that I can see here is streamlining the process, increasing customer service. But one of the things that I saw that it was really great is leveling the playing field. Because there's a lot of individuals and businesses do not have licenses. And there's a lot of people who have licenses. It's not fair to the people that actually pay for the license and so forth. So that additional leveling the playing field, I think, is important by having those individuals go out there and make sure that they have licenses and so forth. And of course, this is a really, really good, 3,611,227. It's a lot of dollars over 5 years. So I think personally it's great. Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Eden, for the information on this. Looking at it, as the mayor had mentioned, it's amazing the difference in the amounts that the two respondents to the process had put there. And I mean, 3.6 million is definitely impressive. And I will admit that I'm one of those 16,000 business tax certificates in the city of Oxnard.
Did you pay your license?
I pay for it, yes. And although I should share that just because I pay for a business tax certificate as a business owner, I don't have to recuse myself from this because this is a larger item that it'd be like if they were paving my neighborhood, I may not have to recuse myself from that, or paving Ventura Road. So my question is along the lines of what the mayor was mentioning regarding the staff who are going to be reassigned. I will give full credit to them as someone who has had to go to the counter and pay that, they certainly had good customer service skills and were attentive. And this decision has nothing to do with the performance of the department or the personnel at the counter, correct?
That's a good point. Yeah.
That is correct. The 5 customer service representatives that will be reassigned are excellent in what they do. And so HR director is here. We've worked closely with them in finding vacancies where they can be matched with and placed into.
Yes, thank you for that. And that is, one conversation that, that was had was, well, what's going to happen to the current employees? And as you mentioned, they are not being let go from the city. They are going to be reassigned to like positions, same classification, similar duties. But they also have the opportunities to apply for other vacancies we have within the city. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. So I'm happy to hear that on the human resources side that our folks are going to be taken care of. This is certainly an important business decision on the part of the city and the council, but that is equally important to me as well to make sure that our folks are taken care of. So thank you for that.
Councilor Silva?
Thank you, Mayor. Equally important to me that staff members are taken care of, so thank you for doing that. Just a quick question as we go to HDL, which, I'm hopefully, it is what it says that it's going to be. Just asking that staff, maybe within a year and a half, bring back a report. Just maybe just even a summary, letting us know how it's going. Just kind of curious.
It's a really good point, yeah.
We actually are putting into the agreement that after each year, that they will be providing the city council a report of the financial, the analytical reports that will show whether or not we are reaching the target or they're exceeding what they're proposing or projecting. I also want to mention that a member of the HDL is remoting us
Oh, so
virtually.
can I follow up on, what happens if they don't meet their goal? They have four additional years to make up, or what?
That is correct, but
Okay.
also they are very optimistic that this 3.6 million is an easy target to reach.
And they might exceed that for all we know.
And they may exceed it as
Yeah.
well.
So any questions? Do we have HDL in the, any questions of HDL other than, I'm sure they work with other cities also.
They do. They listed about 265 counties and cities in California that they provide services to, and about 700 nationwide.
And who do we have from HDL?
Josh Davis, he is the associate director.
Cash, you said?
Josh.
Josh,
Davis.
any additional information that we didn't cover that you can help us with?
No, I think everything's been covered, and the city's done a great job.
Well, thank you for saving us. That's a lot of dollars. And as we mentioned before, the disparity between the other bidders and you folks are just tremendous, just maybe they missed a zero or a number someplace. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I will move the recommended action.
Move by Councilman Basua,
I'll second.
second by Turan. No speakers on this item? Additional speakers?
No additional speakers for this item virtually or in person.
Okay, please vote.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you. Okay. And Sherry, thank you, Sherry. Good job. Our next item is the fire department. This is subject, authorize a blanket purchase order for All-Star Fire Equipment Company, L.N. Curtis and Sons, not to exceed at an amount of $500,000 and $1 million respectively through June 30th, 2024. The recommendations of the Finance and Governments Committee recommend to the City Council and authorize the mayor to execute a blanket purchase order, BPOs, with the following vendors. One, All-Star Fire Equipment Company, All-Star, for a total amount not to exceed $500,000 for the purchase of structural firefighting personal protective equipment, PPE, and tools. Two, L&N Curtis and Sons, L&N Curtis, for a total amount not to exceed $1 million for the purchase of firefighting tools and equipment for wildland and tool mounting on response vehicles. Chief, can you give us some more information on that?
Yeah, good evening. So this
Good
is
evening.
pretty straightforward. We're looking to increase the PO for those two companies, Ellen Curtis and All-Star. The primary driver of this is we're going to get 3 new fire engines next summer. They're going to replace some 27-year-old engines. And in order to do that, we need to purchase quite a bit of equipment to outfit, as you mentioned earlier, to outfit those engines. So that's about $500,000 with Ellen Curtis. We also have some grant-funded items at Ellen Curtis, some wildland equipment. That's about $70,000. And then some of this is also just regular ongoing needs that we have to replace fire hose and other fire equipment, PPE, that sort of thing. So, yeah, we're just looking for just a little bit more latitude there to purchase those items.
Question, what is a Lion's tool? Is that the name of the sole vendor for Lion turnouts, hoods, boots, and so forth? Is that
Lion and yeah, so that's the turnouts we use, and they're the sole source that we.
Oh,
we
the
go
sole
to
source, yeah.
Yeah, for the turnouts that we use.
Okay, Councilmember, any questions?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Chief, for this item. Just so that folks are, just can have the information, I would imagine some of this equipment is very specialized equipment. We can't just go to Harbor Freight or AutoZone and buy these things off the shelf. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. All-Star and Ellen Curtis are just really fire-centric driven, and they're supplying us with thermal imager cameras. Like we have a grant for $107,000 for thermal imagers. You can't buy those at like you said, Home Depot. So they do offer the specialty equipment for the fire service.
Okay, thank you for that. And we certainly want to make sure that our public safety folks have items and materials and equipment that's going to serve them well out in the field, because we would hate for you to be in the middle of using it and it doesn't function the way it's supposed to, or doesn't serve you or the public in the way that they need to be served. So thank you for that. And just as a general question, and maybe it's a silly one, but I want to state it for the record. Have you found that in our equipment purchases and our materials and supplies that we've seen cost increases as of recently?
Yeah, in every area. Ellen Curtis and I've recently worked on an equipment spec for some trucks, and it just the prices just keep going up. Yeah.
Sure.
And then the supply was a challenge, but it seems like things are catching up, and hopefully those prices are slowing down.
Okay.
The rate of growth, but yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Councilman Basula?
I've got no questions.
And again, thank you for the firefighters. You know, you guys are just, public safety firefighters are extremely important to us, and we need to take care of our firefighters, which is really, really important, you know, to all of us. Thank you so much.
We're doing our best, and thank you for those questions.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to approve this item.
Chair Zaragoza.
I'm almost there. Any speakers on this?
We have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
He did, almost got away with it. Okay, motion to approve second.
I'll second.
Tehran. Please vote. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item is item E. Any items for future agendas? Council members?
None at this time, Mayor.
Not at this time?
None.
So the next item is we are adjourned. Thank you so much. Steve?